I was supposed to be a pixie in another life. I think I was supposed to be a fairy. Wow, I really need to know what happened. That's really fun and it's cute and it's wholesome. Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel, or hey if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I have a lot of books that I need to read in August. A lot. So for today's video, we're going to be seeing how many books we can read from the August TBR and getting through this huge stack of books. I've definitely got a very ambitious TBR for the month of August, so this video is going to be centering around just the TBR. We're not going to stray away, no Kindle Unlimited reads this week, no straying away mood reading, none of that. We are reading just from this stack of books, which are my priority TBR for the month. I have got some books that have been carried over from last month's TBR. We've got this month's TBR jar picks. We have books that I'm in the middle of that I need to finish. Just a whole big old stack of books. So many books, so little time. I'm going to quickly run through the books that we're working with for the week and then we will see which ones we end up reading. The Ministry of Time by Callie Bradley. The tandem read by Sarah J Maas, which is Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storms. I'm actually already like halfway through this tandem read. Rivals by Jilly Cooper. The Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanzon. Wings of Starlight by Alison Saft. Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. And finally, my most beautiful book of the month, A Dance of Lies by Brittany Arena. This is my Fairy Loot edition. Let me know if you've read any of these books in the comments, and any of the books that I don't manage to read in today's video, let me know if you've read them and if I should be reading them ASAP, because I definitely need a little bit of a push for some of these books. And without further ado, we've got a lot to read, so let's get started and choose the first book of the video. We need to lock in an update on The Ministry of Time by Callie Bradley. I am officially now 250 pages into this book and I've not yet updated the vlog. I know, terrible. But truth be told, I have been absolutely loving my time reading this book, more than I expected. I definitely did not expect going into this that I would be so drawn into it and not want to put it down, but that is definitely the case. With this book, we are essentially following our main female character, who I don't actually know if we get her name. Do we get her name? I'm gonna have to fact check that and put that on the screen. She has been looking for a job and she ends up taking a job as a civil servant working in the Ministry of Time. Now this is the ministry, as you can imagine, that deals with time. This girl's job in particular is dealing with an experiment that's going on where they are bringing people from the past to present day and teaching them about present day and seeing if they can survive in the present day world. So the Ministry of Time has taken, I think, 6 people from different time periods and brought them back to present day. Each person from the past gets someone called a bridge, which is sort of like their personal life guide, who they live with, they get taught things by, and our main character is a bridge for Graham Gore. He is from 1847 and he was a commander on the Navy, I think. So they're living together and she is just teaching him everything about the world, about life. There's lots of big learning curves for him in this book and she has to literally teach him everything pretty much from scratch, because going from 1847 to present day, I don't think it actually discloses the year that this is in, she has to teach him everything, like what a fridge is, what different words now mean, what different food is, and technology and YouTube. Like, she has to teach him absolutely everything, and that is her job. There's also some like very suspect things going on. She doesn't really know why this experiment is taking place. She's not been told. Everything is kept very much under wraps, and there's now a few cracks in the surface to the experiment that she's very, very confused about, and everyone is trying to sort of figure out what's going on, because these people are not up, they're not higher ups, they're very much like minimum wage people. The Bridges are like minimum wage assistants essentially. They get told pretty much nothing. I really enjoy the writing style of this book. I feel like it's a very enthralling writing style. Like, I don't feel bored at all, and I'm very much like swept away into this sort of magical world where I don't think we know the year. Like, it's very much kept under wraps. You feel like it's present day, like right now, but honestly it could be in the future. I don't even know. I don't think it says. And the relationship between our main female character and the time travel guy feels very much like a magical relationship. It feels very special, and the way that it's written is very beautiful. I definitely will be picking up more of Kellyanne Bradley's work in the future, because I am having an incredible time with this book, and I'm going to finish it tonight hopefully. So I'm going to go away now and probably have some tea and then sit down and finish the last chunk, and I'll update my full final thoughts and feelings when I have done that. But so far, so good. I'm joining you from the floor right now, but I have finished The Ministry of Time by Kellyanne Bradley, and I'm going to rate this book a 4.5 stars. I had such a great time with this book. I definitely wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. I really liked the writing style. I really loved the concept. I feel like I've not ever read a book that is as unique as this book personally, and I think that's just what I needed. I needed like a refreshing reset of just a book that is nothing like any other book I've read before, because sometimes you can start to read books that are very samey and you start to get a bit burnt out with the same style of writing and the same style of plot, and this definitely was a nice breakaway from that kind of rut I'd gotten into a little bit. So I had a really great time. It also explores how relationships work across time, and I really enjoyed seeing how Graham, he is the 1847 expat, how he coped with being in the current century. I thought it was interesting how we didn't really get to know too much about the present day timeline. Like, we didn't really get a year that we were set in. We didn't really get too much details about that. It's kind of left up to you to assume where they're at in the world. And for a sci-fi book, I think it's definitely a great gateway into the sci-fi genre, because I am definitely not a sci-fi reader. This is honestly my first sci-fi book, and I don't even know if it's like classed as a proper sci-fi book, but I really enjoyed it, and I think it's inspired me to pick up more science fiction work. So I will definitely be doing that in the future. So if you have any recs, then please let me know. I do also think that the romance for me wasn't the most central point, and it wasn't the most important point for me. That was kind of like a pleasant subplot. I more was enjoying the exploration of different timelines and how different they are, but also same in many ways. So yeah, had a great time with this one, and 4.5 stars is my official Lily Grace rating. Now it is time to choose our next book of the video. It has to be from our August TBR, but we now need to choose the next read. So let's run through the options. I feel like I just look a hot mess right now. Okay, now I look like an egg, but we're just gonna roll with it. At the moment, these are the current options from my August TBR. The only other book on my August TBR that I could read would be A Dance of Lies, my Fairy Loot Dance of Lies copy, but at the moment I'm not really fancying that one, so we're going to choose from these options left on the TBR. We could do the Hurricane Wars, which would be a nice fantasy break, because I feel like I've not reached for a fantasy in quite a while now, so we could definitely do that one. Or Rivals, which is a carry-on book from my July TBR. I didn't end up getting to it again in July, so I really want to prioritise it in August, but I just think right now it's too thick of a book, so we're not going to do that one. Another carryover book from the July TBR is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I don't really know why I didn't get to this one. I think it's just because I ran out of time. So it has been carried over onto the August TBR, and I definitely want to get to this one this month. So this is definitely up there with being an option. And then an actual book on my August TBR is Wings of Starlight by Alison Saft. So It's between these two, to be honest. Like, if I were to tell you which two are catching my eye the most at the moment, it's between these two, but I think I'm leaning more towards this one because I'm in the mood for like a fairy, whimsical, fairy tale-esque sort of book. I'm gonna charge up my headphones and put on like a very whimsical playlist to really get in the vibes and immerse myself. And I'm very excited because I am a Disney girl, I love Disney, and I feel like this is gonna scratch that itch. I really want to find out more about the story of these two characters from Tinkerbell, so I'm gonna start this one, I think. We've got the coffee, we've got the book, we're set, we're good to go. Halfway through this book and genuinely, why is it the most like nostalgic read I've ever read? It's really fun and it's cute and it's wholesome. That's the word that I would describe this book as, wholesome. We're essentially following Clarion, who is basically the queen in training for Pixie Hollow, and then we're also following Milori, who is the ward of the Winter Forest and the Winter World. So in Pixie Hollow, we now have this thing that's happening where nightmares are attacking the land and they don't really know how to fix it or solve it. And Milori and Clarion end up meeting at the bridge that bridges the warmer seasons with winter. And they kind of strike up a friendship and they've been talking and they're trying to figure out how to stop these nightmares from infiltrating the world. And it's actually quite a good plot. Like, I kind of was not really expecting there to be as high stakes of a plot as there is, but I'm really enjoying that part. And yeah, it's just sometimes you do just need to read a wholesome book at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? I feel like sometimes, you know, I read quite a lot of like intense fantasies and maybe like spicy books, and then it's just such a nice break sometimes to read a wholesome fairy tale vibes book. So I'm loving this book, I'm loving it. Also, the reason that it is genuinely so yellow is because this is my sister's book and she read like 3 pages outside and then left the book outside in the sun for like a good few days straight, because it was when we had like a heat wave, so there was no rain or anything like that, and she left it outside in the sun on the table, and I was the one who brought it in, honestly. To this day, this book might still be outside if I hadn't have brought it in. So she's definitely had some, what should we say, challenges from the elements. Yeah. I'm in my pyjamas right now. I just got back from work and I am gonna go and finish this book. I have officially finished Wings of Starlight by Alison Saft, and this was such a cute book. It was everything I needed and more in this moment. I feel like if you are a Disney girly, if you loved the Tinkerbell films growing up, if you just love like a magical, ethereal, whimsical vibe, then you will really love this book. And to be honest, it didn't read like it wasn't noticeable that it was young adult to me. I feel like usually I don't really enjoy young adult books. I kind of stay away from them. They're just not really my vibe. But I didn't really notice this was even young adult. It just kind of read like a fairy tale, but not in a immature type of way, if you know what I mean. Not in like a childlike way. It was really, really good and I had such a fun time with it. I read the whole book with a Pixie Hollow playlist on. So on Spotify, I literally just searched up like Wings of Starlight and it came up with this one playlist that was called, it was like You're in Pixie Hollow. And honestly, reading this book with that playlist on was spectacular. I feel like I just want to be a fairy living in a little hollow with a flower as a house. Yeah, and an owl as my form of transport. That just sounds like the dream. This book was honestly quite high stakes. I didn't really expect it to be as high stakes as it was. I feel like the story was really well done. It was very, very sad. The ending was very bittersweet. It definitely wasn't like the happiest of endings, but it was really fun for me to read more about the story that we see a little tiny glimpse of in the Tinkerbell films, and I would definitely just recommend this book to anyone who is a Disney girly and grew up watching the Tinkerbell films, because this is just probably going to scratch an itch in your brain that you didn't know that you needed scratching. So, if anything, reading this book has put me in such a nostalgic mood. I feel like I need to go to Disney World right now and just be in my most wholesome era ever. It also just makes me want to sprinkle pixie dust on everything in my life, you know, just romanticize my life, because why am I not doing that? So I'm gonna rate this book a 4 stars because it was super nostalgic, super whimsical. It read like you're reading a fairy tale, and I loved all the characters, so I would definitely recommend reading this book. I think I was supposed to be a pixie in another life. I think I was supposed to be a fairy. We are now moving on to the final book of today's video, and this book was calling to me, alright? It was calling to me. After reading Wings of Starlight, I didn't want to read just like a contemporary romance. All I wanted to read was another fantasy book. That is just the mood that I'm in. So I think we all know what book we're choosing off of the August TBR, and that is The Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanzon. This is a book that I have seen very mixed opinions on throughout BookTok and BookTube. I think a lot of people go into this book expecting a enemies to lovers romance, and I think it's one of those books that is maybe deceiving in the marketing and is more of a very, very, very slow burn, high stakes, political centered fantasy instead. So going into it knowing that's what it is, I think I'll be good. I think, you know, I'll expect what it's going to give me, so I won't be as let down as expecting like a enemies to lovers romantasy. So that's what I'm going in with. I don't really know too much about it. I know that it's light against dark. These two places are at war with each other. I think there's an arranged marriage. They're forced into marriage. There's dragons. I think there's like quite a intricate world building type thing. So I'm so excited to read this book. Currently reading The Hurricane Wars, and I'm 30 pages in, and genuinely my head is boggled. Like, the amount of info and info dumping and crazy names, crazy things to, like crazy places that we're going, and I'm just so confused. 30 pages in and we've started the book with an actual bang. Like, there's no build up, no nothing, it's just like straight away action, and we're kind of getting these names and things of places thrown at us without being explained what these things are. So I genuinely don't have a clue what any of these things mean or what they are, and I'm just kind of trying to work things out in my brain, but it's really taking a lot of brain power to do that. And I'm honestly, this is saying something, I am more confused right now than when I first started from When the Moon Hatched. Like, and I was very confused when I read When the Moon Hatched, but that was easier to understand than this is. I don't know if it's going to get easier, but I'm 30 pages in at the moment and I'm really confused. Like, it feels like I'm not taking anything in. I'm going to keep reading and see if it improves. Hopefully I'll start to understand things a little bit more, but at the moment I am just like, wow, this is an actual like brain boggle. just gotten out of the shower, hence the wet hair. But I have now finished The Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanzon. I ended up finishing this morning, but have not yet said my thoughts and feelings on the book. So I'm honestly not too sure what I'm going to rate it yet. I feel like this happens so much. When I finish a book, I genuinely need like 3 to 5 working days to fully know what I'm going to rate it. I think that this book is potentially fallen victim to being marketed wrong. I feel like it is marketed as a typical enemies to lovers romantasy type book, and I would genuinely say that is not the case. I would say the romance almost falls second place, kind of, in a way. This is a very politics heavy fantasy book. I would even say that this would be a good book to read if you have read a few romantasies recently and you've really wanted to start delving into the more broader fantasy genre that doesn't necessarily focus on romance completely. I would say this would be a good gateway because you've still got the romance and you've definitely still got that there, but it's such a slow burn and the romance kind of isn't talked about as much as other romantasies that I definitely think this would be good for those people that do want to try out the fantasy genre more as a whole, like without just romance in it. Romantasy for me is like romance with a side of fantasy, whereas this was fantasy with a side of romance, if you know what I mean. We are essentially following Taliesin, who is a light weaver. She lives with the Sardovians, who are a population of people that are being hunted by the Night Court type thing. Honestly, there's a lot of names to remember in this book. So Alaric is the emperor of the Night Court, and they are basically trying to overrule all the little continents and things like that to essentially achieve like world power and just become the most powerful continent in this world. And then we end up having a forced marriage, arranged marriage situation where, that's quite a mouthful, where to ally the two different places, they have to basically marry each other, as you do. There's a lot of betrayal in this book, there's a lot of fight scenes and war scenes and politics. It's so politics heavy. I really didn't expect that going into it, but I honestly really had a good time reading this book, and I think if you go into it knowing that it's going to be more of a fantasy heavy book and there's going to be more talk of politics and things like that, you will have a good time, because I was really invested by the end of it and I really can't wait for book 2. I just was like, wow, I really need to know what happens. Like, I need to know. There's definitely a lot of names and there's a lot of places, and sometimes it feels like you're reading like made up words completely, but once you get past that, which I feel like I'm still not past that, but once you kind of learn to get on with it, you really can appreciate that this is a really well done fantasy book, and the writing style is so beautiful. Like the way that Thea writes her world building and her descriptiveness, it's really, really beautiful, and you can really paint the picture in your head. And I'm definitely excited for the next book. It is out already, it's called Monsoon Rising, but I am waiting for the paperback version to come out so I can match them together. And the ending definitely left me wanting more. I was definitely like, okay, like I need to read another book now. But I will say, just make sure that you go into this book with the right expectations so that you're not disappointed, because it's definitely one of the more complex romantasies I have ever read, and it's definitely up there with like the same level of world building as When the Moon Hatched, so there is that. I just went to edit my video and I realised when I was talking about Hurricane Rising, Hurricane Rising? The Hurricane Wars, I didn't talk about the romance as much as I wanted to, because I was just kind of like, let me just get all my thoughts out. The romance is definitely a slow burn, but in a very good way. It's definitely enemies to lovers. I know like a lot of the time the trope enemies to lovers gets thrown around and it's never actually enemies to lovers. It's kind of just like, yeah, we kind of just dislike each other for a little bit and then we're like besties in the next scene. This is like, no, these two people have literally been at war with each other, trying to kill each other, and now they're married and having to deal with that. It has got yearning, it has got the trope of like, I don't want to like you, but I definitely do love you. And all I'm going to say is the fan cast for Alaric is Adam Driver. I have seen. I saw that on like one TikTok. I don't know if that is like the actual fan cast for him, but I imagined him as Adam Driver, and that'll do it. That will do it. I think it's also cool how they're just like completely different. Like he's a shadow, he wields shadows and she wields light. Like that alone is very, very cool. And it was just giving yearning. It was giving angsty. This is to me a true enemies to lovers book. I know that a lot of the time the word enemies to lovers just is the trope of like every romantasy these days, but if you're looking for one that is actually a slow burn enemies to lovers where they still are barely even liking each other halfway in, this is the book. This is the book for you. And that is all the books that I'm going to read for today's video. We've managed to get 3 books from the August TBR ticked off my list, which is stunning. As always, let me know if you've read any of the books that I have read in today's video and what your thoughts and feelings were. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye guys.